Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. Maybe you stepped out last night and you enjoyed a night of karaoke with some friends and thought, boy, that felt pretty good. I wonder if I can elevate my level to a point where perhaps I can perform on places such as The Voice. Well, joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program today is a master at using the voice as a means for personal growth, self-acceptance, creativity, and healing. You probably didn't think of that. You were thinking, well, I kind of would rather go after the Grammy. Well, one step at a time. The approach our guest has developed blends easy-to-learn vocal skills with innovative performance techniques that enable people to overcome performance anxiety. So you get a little nervous up there when you're grabbing the mic doing an Eagles song in a karaoke bar. Well, you can probably find your way to get those nerves relaxed. You can also express yourself fully, authentically, and powerfully, which is another benefit that you can learn from doing this by finding your true voice. Joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program today, I'd like to welcome a multi-platinum award-winning voice coach whose private clients include artists on the big record labels that most of us have heard of, such as MCA, RCA, Warner Brothers, and Sony. I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today our guest, Claude Stein. Claude, thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program.
Well, thanks for having me.
I was looking at your background here, and it's extensive to say the least. Tell us how you got started on all this, and kind of give our listeners a background of what you've been doing.
I began. I think the first time I really sang was in high school, and I picked up a folk guitar and started playing in the evenings and learned a lot of folk songs. And I was never chosen to be in the choir. I was always excluded. People never thought I could sing well. And then after studying music at college and getting my degree in composition and analysis, I had to make a living. And the only work I could find, or the most readily available work, was to play country folk music at a bar in Bourbon Street, New Orleans. So I started singing, and I got by. And then I started playing around all over New Orleans and moved to Florida. And in 1980, I came up to New York City, having had a breakthrough writing a song. I continued to write songs, and I just fell into it. I love lyrics, and I love music, and I was performing around New York City, taking every songwriting class I could find. Finally stumbled into an acting class for people who didn't sing. And I saw that all the singing lessons I was taking at the time weren't doing what just a little bit of coaching on being real passionate with a strong intention was doing for these actors who wanted to learn to sing. And from that point on, that was 1980, from that point on, I went to study vocal anatomy at the Jefferson College of Medicine. They have a voice foundation there. And I studied with teachers around town, and I latched onto a leadership program at the New York Actors Institute, where I then became part of their faculty teaching singing workshops. In 1983 was The Natural Singer was born, where I started to integrate scales, breathing, along with this, being free to express yourself with your own point of view, and using these acting techniques as a way to get the inside voice out and into the singing voice. And that was the story until the year 2000. I was teaching a lot of music industry people until, I'd say, the mid-1990s, when I traded in that clientele for just people who wanted to find their voice and sing. It turns out that when you coach professional singers, it's mostly technique, how to build the instrument, the range, the endurance. And that's not so much my thing, as in I like to play music and enjoy singing and songs. So I just started to open my doors to anyone who wanted to sing better, anybody who wanted to find their voice. And that led to a larger clientele of people who were just in learning centers, places like Esalen, Omega, Brighton Bush up by you. And that by the year 2000 spun off into a corporate leadership program where I began to bring singing into the most constricted environments, that's, the real belly of the beast, so to speak, where there's not much room to free your voice and say your say. And that's been the story. I have a couple of recording studios. I love helping people sing, and I think I know that everybody can, but that is my background. I've taught at Juilliard, from Juilliard to the Barefoot Singers up at Breitenbush.
Well, nothing like teaching barefoot singers out at Breitenbush, huh? It's interesting because when people take a look at singing, a lot of times we try to measure our way through people who are actually singers, performers. A lot of times we sing songs from our favorite albums and the like, and a lot of times people think, well, I'm not to that level, but singing is of great benefit to you whether you want to be that performer that you emulate or not. Tell us what the real benefits of being able to, sing, to learn to sing, to really vibrate into your own authentic voice, which is pretty much the goal that you have with people.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's the obvious ones up front where you get better breathing, where you can just be singing a happy song while you're working in the kitchen and enjoying the sound of your voice and hitting notes better and widening your repertoire, singing karaoke if you like. And that's the fun part of it. But the real profound changes happen when you start to recapture some authenticity. And by that I mean the desire which would summon forth the language or the lyrics in the first place. So, for instance, if a song is really about somebody who is drawing strong boundaries and moving on with their life, and if that's the need or the desire that then shows up and summons those lyrics, then to recapture that energy of I'm moving on, I'm taking a stand, or this is a warning, or this is an invitation, or this is a step into something new for my life. I want to improvise and trust myself. So I take songs that have whatever the lyric is or the melody is, and I frame it and I give it a context at the piano, and we invent lyrics that bring forth these intentions. And when you get your say back, your face just lights up with joy. When you get your ability to be vulnerable, sad, happy, angry, desiring, a storyteller, to allow people to see you, it's elevating. And people don't want to do this with singing because there's the old shame factor if you don't sing well or hit the notes in front of other people. And I have found a way to stay 100% positive and cheer everyone on, and until we match the notes better. And what's most important is the heart value. So I get emails back from people who are better able to speak in relationships, who move on better, who speak up more, who have found the ability to be more tender, more kind, just to give voice to the wide palette of things that make up a human being. So it's a holistic approach. The people who, your audience may be over 50, this is often a crowd that used to sing or sang in choir and then stopped, or never sang and wanted to have the so-called bucket list. And this is where to come, where I love to just show people how easy it is to get past the nerves. We can do that in 5 minutes of a warm-up. And yet people can spend an entire lifetime feeling afraid to get embarrassed by hitting a wrong note, or that it's somehow a reflection. It's just so soul-touching when you sing and when you share yourself through a song rather than just imitating the record.
Mm-hmm. It's fascinating when you come into this realm. For instance, when I started radio many years ago, and you would hear recordings of your own voice and think, boy, that doesn't sound like me. And it's interesting how we don't tend to hear ourselves the way others do, but others would say, no, that sounds just like you. And what's even more interesting is that critical voice that tends to rise in a situation like that. And for instance, just recently I was filming someone who was talking into the camera describing what her services are. And this is someone that's out there to help empower people to be a better vision of themselves, I suppose. And it was really interesting because I told my wife, watch when we send these clips to her, the kind of email we're going to get back. I just knew what I was going to experience from her email, and it certainly was this, wow, I've got a lot of work to do. You know, there was that big critical voice. And I wonder, as you've worked with people, what is it within us that causes us to have that inner critic, especially with something like what you do, where you're kind of really putting yourself out there, so to speak?
Well, let me give you the cause and the remedy. The cause is because singing goes so deep and shows so much of ourselves. The amount of information contained in the voice is enormous, more than in a painting and so we can get moved by someone singing in the first 20 seconds or 10 seconds. We can be totally captivated and touched and moved in a deep way. So it is a very vulnerable or exposed form of expression. So you combine that with how almost inconsiderate we are when it comes to judging singers and having judgments about singers. When you ride in the car, and you can go through that radio station scan button, and you can hear 10 singers in 20 seconds and reject them next. I don't like this singer. And then the person next says, oh, I like that singer. I don't like the early works. I like the later versions. So we are unwittingly pretty critical of singing. Excuse me. Let me turn that off. So that's the first part. If you were to go to a party and say, gee, I've been taking a couple singing lessons, the first thing that's going to happen is the person's going to say, oh, wow, I love being touched by singers. Would you sing a little? Oh, sing a little for me. Let me hear a little bit. And then that person who has taken a couple lessons is now on the spot of being one of those radio channels that can get accepted or rejected. So it's easy to accept or reject. We have a lot of vagaries of taste around this. We're unwittingly cruel, and it's a very powerful means of both expression that can reach people and touch people and put 5,000 people in the seats, as well as shame people and hurt people. I mean, it's unbelievable the stories I hear about people who were told to shut up and people who were told they couldn't sing and don't sing loud and you're embarrassing me, because failure at hitting 2 notes out of 10, we think people get embarrassed and ashamed or humiliated by this. So that is, I think the reason is because it's so rich in personal identity attributes, who you are, what you're feeling, and if there's a quiver in your voice. And let me just say this, our society, just the human condition is that your self-esteem comes a lot from your achievement levels. And so if you get the A on the test or hit the note well, you think you get the praise, you're a better person. When in fact, your intelligence is the same, your heart, you're just as caring a person. But we sort of interpret, I'm not worthy of love, of applause, if I get the B+ or the C. And there's this intense confusion that we have about our self-worth and our self-esteem by our achievement level, when in fact you're just as wonderful a person whether you miss the mark or whether you hit the mark. So that being said, I'd like to move on, if it's okay with you, to how we can remedy this.
Absolutely, please.
So the critical voice is there, and there's one piece of it that I didn't mention is that's really, if you look at some psychology texts, you'll see there's something called selective abstraction, and that's just that the mind will go to the lyric that you forgot. If you put 10 bowling pins in a row and 10 are white, 1 is red, the eye goes to the red. So there's a little bit of more focus, that we focus on the thing that's off. The trick to conquering this, and which every singer I think that's on the stage has conquered, is being able to be seen being willing. Johnny Cash is saying, hey, this is what I'm going to say. It might not be in tune, but go ahead and look, go ahead and listen, go ahead and judge me. And I don't know that it's so much that you are born with a thick skin or a thin skin, but I know we can create more of that. We can claim our own ability to argue with that critical voice and say, wait a minute, I'm practicing. Give me a break. You can judge me later when I'm recorded in a real studio if I decide to make a record. Hold on, critical voice. What I do in the workshop is I do not permit people to practice that voice out loud. So I don't let people say, I'm nervous. I don't let people say, oh, I've got a scratchy voice. Oh, I'm sick today. All of that stuff goes on a notepad in the back of your mind. And that's the same notepad, by the way, where you would say, I'm going to fire that drummer at the end of the show. Or, whoa, I'm going to be sure to not wear this color shirt when I go to the video the next time. Or whatever thoughts you have that are critical, I start to train you to not have their way to your lips so you don't continue to practice the negative thinking pattern. And then I ask you, and I ask the room, to fill in lots of positives. So while you may be obsessing on how you had a crack in your voice on a certain note or a certain bunch of notes, there's another person who loved your courage, another person who loved the eye contact, another person who loved the choice of songs, another person who just adored the tone that came out in the middle of the verse, and there's so much. We start to put 100 compliments where there was the one critical voice, and slowly that critical voice, it doesn't come through your lips, and it doesn't debilitate you as much. Mm-hmm. So it's feeding the positive, and then I just got to say, there are people, I think Robert De Niro, that just can't watch their films. There are people who don't listen to their records. There's people like Barbra Streisand will take 3 years to make a movie because there's such a they want to honor the not say it's good or bad, but just say this is a good critical eye that I have. So that's long-winded, but it's done with love and appreciation, and above all, the most important ingredient to my workshops is acceptance, and that's the most important ingredient, I think, to people overcoming the critical voice, is saying, yeah, I got you, thank you very much, and I'm going to focus on some things that are working here. I just took 2 lessons. I now know 4 songs. I sang in front of people. I've been warming up in the car. My breathing is better. I'm listening more to singers on the radio. And we retrain the concentration and start to look for what's working as a appreciative inquiry kind of approach. In the corporate world, they call it appreciative inquiry, where we start to train the ear to look at all the things that are good about us, so that we are less, so that we bounce back quicker.
Mm-hmm. I think what's important, too, when you consider all the shows that are out there that have to do with people who want to make it in the music industry, that I think the commercial music industry displays sort of an interesting illusion that there are only a select few people, and this may be true, but that get to this big level that we should all allegedly be aspiring to. When the truth is, here's the thing. I remember years and years ago when I first stepped onto a karaoke stage. I thought, well, this would be kind of interesting to do, and so I did my song, and as the night went on, and then I went home and I went to bed, I realized it was hard to sleep because I had this buzz about me. And the thing was, it tapped into the natural performer, for instance, that I was back when I was in junior high and high school, where I loved dancing. I loved performing on stage, and that's what I liked doing, but I kind of put it aside, as life sometimes might do that to some of us. But that there kind of restruck the chord, and from time to time I would go out and I would karaoke, but what I enjoyed more was getting up there while they were setting up the record doing comedy. It was more of an excuse to go up and tell jokes and work the audience and then do my song. But what I loved about doing that was, that is going out to karaoke, was that the audience is just what you're describing, that they are very forgiving, that they will. In fact, I think the only time I heard anyone ever booed off of a karaoke stage was Tanya Harding, and I think it was just because they didn't like her. But, the fact is that you are better than you think you are, and I like that your approach as the natural singer, lets people know we're all here with a song in our hearts to share that can inspire others, and believe that. Don't worry about, things like The Voice or America's Got Talent or the slew of these talent shows that are out there saying, if you can get to this level, then maybe you have a chance to really get to the highest level like the rest of these people, because it isn't even about that.
Yeah. Daniel, I'm glad you brought this up, because this cripples people. This stops people from singing so much that they have to be good at it. If they want to make a CD, the next question usually is, well, what are you going to do with it? Why were you making this? Do you want to be in the industry? Do you want to be famous? And there is this sense that why pursue it unless you're going to, that success is defined as fame and selling your music, rather than doing what you love to do with your life, right. Having fun, doing things, and so we're stigmatized that, and there are so many. That's the first question when people hear one of my clients is making a CD as well. What are you going to do with it? Why make it? And then, the answer is obviously, well, because I love music, I love to sing, I'm going to have a nice project. They would not ask you that about a painting. They would not ask you about if you spent $3,000 on a golf vacation, but if you spend $3,000 on singing lessons, why? Where are you going to take it? So I think you're right. It stops people at all levels, whether just right and left. I hear the stories that are incredible, and this I call it almost idol worship. I didn't think it was American Idol. I think we put these performers up on such a pedestal, and they confuse favoritism with quality. These Oscars and these Grammys and these voice shows. This is someone's opinion. It's their favorite movie. It's not the best movie of the year. It's not the best singer. How are you going to compare artists?
And don't ever fight against Kanye West's opinion about who should win the Grammys. He knows better than everybody.
Yeah, it's all contest. Favorites. So there is. Now I wanted to add something else. Two things you said that really struck home with me. One is you're unseen, the ability to inspire people, whether you are singing well or not. There's so much that can happen when you give voice to what you care about and what you love, and there is a ripple effect that's huge. But I want to say something about this. Conquering the critical voice again. And this is a principle called desensitization. Do you know about this? Have you heard about this?
No, I don't think I have.
All right. In cognitive behavioral therapy, what they do is, you're afraid to fly. They say, it's 8 sessions, it's this much, I guarantee you'll get on a plane and fly and be okay with it. And the reason they can do that is because they start to graduate you up in small steps. So the first day you draw a picture of an airplane. If that's on a scale of 1 to 10, if that's a 5, they'll say, whoa, let's just make the letter A. Before you know it, you're drawing an airplane, you're driving past the airport, you're in a museum getting in an airplane, you're paying a guy to just taxi you up and down the runway, you slowly diminish your negative critical response, your fear, your response to a situation by gradually doing it. So you might sing a little bit to a good friend. And then you might sing a little bit in a corner of a park where nobody can hear you, or in a choir in a church. And then slowly maybe you move to 2 seats away from everybody else, and you start to sing. And you gradually move yourself up so that you're desensitized to it. So this is sort of, they use it in post-traumatic stress too, where you just, if somebody thinks there's a loud gunshot, they think it's a fire, maybe their firearm, they might say, well, let's start with something that's a soft sound, and make it louder, and then louder, and then louder, until it no longer triggers that fear or that embarrassment or that critical voice. So by getting in front of people accepting people more and more, doing more and more karaoke, doing more and more singing for friends, or wherever you do it, you lower this knee-jerk reaction of, I'm unworthy, I'm bad, that was terrible, I have a sore throat, I'm off-key, what are they going to think? They're not going to like me, I'm not going to like me, I paid all these money for lessons. And so, and here's the kicker of it all. The kicker of it all is it's mind-blowing when people finally cut loose in my classes. There are tears of joy, there's outrageous applause. The power that people reclaim, you can't describe it except you could read on my website. It's life-changing. It is such a huge release to sing your butt off like you're at a campfire back or in high school, drinking a beer and just singing it out with all your heart. It is a high. I'm sure it's the buzz that you were talking about, and it's not hard to get to.
You know, and it's amazing because you're looking at something that if people would just actually consider it for a moment, you know, they might not, as they listen today, think, well, I never thought about really being a singer, but let's say, you know, they go to your workshops and they develop and they hit that natural inner chord, that soul that's them. You know, that this is something that begins to spill over in a lot of areas in your life that you wouldn't expect. For instance, I would imagine, as you were talking about earlier in the program, you know, for instance, performers, singers who have been in the business a long time, they tend to be healthier. I mean, it's amazing that, for instance, you take a look at the Rolling Stones, and you know that Mick Jagger partied like a madman for many, many years, but yet here he is in his 70s, and he's still boogieing all over the stage and singing for 2 hours, whatever the case is, and he looks good, you know, and you think, boy, there's got to be some benefit to this. And then you think
Mick Jagger used to jog 5 miles a day backwards.
Oh, right. But the
backwards.
Backwards. Wow, there you go. There's somebody who's definitely in shape. But the point is that it begins to spill over with confidence into other areas. You start thinking, you know, what are other goals I had that I've always wanted to pursue? Well, you overcome something like this, and all that other stuff begins to seem easy after a while, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely. How could it not? And that's what I was mentioning earlier. I get the emails where people are just, they're especially so, let's take somebody who's 50, right? That's the name of your show. And then they're wondering, what am I going to do? I'm not sure I like this. I don't know where I'm going next. Well, let's take the indecision and let's pop it into one of those Irene Cara songs. Or let's pop it into Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? And let's really own it and let's sing the heck out of it. Well, all of a sudden, the lyrics may be insecure, but they're incredibly confident and certain, and they own it. And it's no longer an emotion running the personality, and they're able. Absolutely, you take a step towards singing, then it's so much easier to speak to people and communicate what's in your heart. And there is no such thing as tone deafness. I've never met anyone who's tone deafness. And the most common reaction I get when I say to people that I teach singing is they say, you could never help me. And then I just bet them. I bet them. I say, you know, how about $5,000? How about $5? Give me 10 minutes with you, and you'll be matching all the entire notes in the scale. So it is really a great springboard. You don't have to be a singer. You don't have to be on Starship. You don't have to go to karaoke. But if you just want to be able to just open your heart more, to go for what you want to go for with enthusiasm, it's a great place. It's much more than just hitting the notes. Mm-hmm. The people who sing in public already usually are finding a fresh way to sing their song. The beginners are finally reclaiming, and the intermediates, like yourself, who used to dance or sing, let's just get the rust off and party with the song. And right. I'm there with about 20% of technical talk and instruction, just like a regular singing teacher would do. That's building the instrument. You're breathing, the jaw tension. You're not getting a good resonance. It's hypernasal. It's hyponasal, and I can give people exercises, but then the emphasis is on music and singing and correcting things, and just a heads up to the listeners, there are just so many teachers out there that are real good at the breathing, the tone, the building of the instrument or the piano, and then when it comes to playing it or playing it with feeling, it's another game. That's a whole other skill, is how to eliminate nervousness, how to phrase, how to get your rhythm, how to really sing in your own style.
Now, you are going to be holding a workshop, as you were saying earlier, at the Brighton Bush Hot Springs, which is located outside of Portland, Oregon, in the Great Northwest. When is that going to happen?
That's the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. And I've been there for over... Of May, yes, okay. Real soon, 10 days, I guess. And the Brighton Bush has hosted me for the last 10 years. Twice a year, and I anticipate that will continue. There is BrightonBush.com is their website. Mine is naturalsinger.com, and that has a link right to Brighton Bush that can you can call them and get involved with this. And that's naturalsinger.com. It's the 22nd, 23rd, and the 24th. You going to come?
We're going to make a shot to try, that's for sure.
Okay, and then I had a thought here. You know, I once was on a cable show, and the host said, you know, would you coach me a little bit? And I did on the air, and then I did a couple of radio shows where I coached the host over the air as well. So if you or anyone in your studio would like a demonstration of how this works, where I can take any old little snippet of a song that we've heard of, and it can be one or two lines, and then I could bring out some inner voice, and then we could sing it again, that one or two or three lines. It's an open invitation to you, Daniel. Do you want to get out your dancing shoes?
Absolutely. We might as well just jump in. It doesn't do anybody any good if I bring guests like you on the program, and I tend to be unwilling to step into the spotlight, so why not?
That's great. All right, so what you want to think of, this is how the game works, is you think of a small goal for yourself. What would you like to get out of it if you were to decide to take a voice coaching lesson or a singing lesson? And does anything come to, you could also say, you tell me, but does anything come to mind why you would do it?
I think what I would do would be to perhaps maybe even improve my voice over the radio. You know,
okay.
I guess that would be it.
And is there any place that you think would be the learning edge, or where you want, when you say improve, what about it would you want to improve?
Well, I just remember years ago as I decided to go after this, there had been, you don't see them too much anymore, but there were schools out there that taught radio. You went in, you learned, you paid for the classes, and allegedly they'd get you a job in radio, but that wasn't the route that I took. But while I was interviewing with one of them, he says, well, you know, your voice is way down here in the voice minute. It should be up here instead. Well, anybody who's ever seen, what was that movie, Private Parts with Howard Stern, you know, that's how they had him at first. He was, hi, I am Howard Stern, and he had this high voice. But eventually, when he really began to really hit his stride and become very well known as a radio broadcaster, he was just talking like his regular self. And that was where everybody loved him. So I thought, well, maybe this guy, even though he's been in radio all these years, would he be right about my voice? Because that's how I normally talk.
All right. So, yes, you want to talk with your normal voice. Let's first do a quick exercise that will get some of the rust off of your range, and that will be, we'll just count. Yeah? Because I'd like to hear more low end in your voice.
Okay.
Did you hear how I just went down? So we're just going to go from the outside in first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And we'll end our sentences slowing down a little bit.
Okay.
Let's try that. End the sentence slowing down.
End the sentence slowing down.
And then we'll just say, so this is an outside-in exercise. It'll apply itself automatically as you start to do it, and then you don't think about it. But you're saying, so I'd like to have I'd like to explore the range of my voice. Let's go high to low.
I'd like to explore the range of my voice.
Great. Now and so that's the outside in, as you're going to get familiar with and get the dust off the high notes. Let's go high.
I'd like to explore the range of my voice.
The high notes.
I'd like to explore the range of my voice.
And can you quote me and say the high notes?
High notes.
No, high notes.
High notes.
Low notes.
Low notes.
High notes.
High notes.
Low notes.
Low notes.
Good. So we've just gone to the gym. We've done some cross-training. You're getting the rust off of it. So those notes will now become available for you to use more naturally in your when you start to speak. It'll go up, it'll go down, because they become lexicon, they become vocabulary. You now are reclaiming more of your range. Now pick a little line or two of a song.
Let me see. I'm trying to think of one, but one that pops into my mind is from Talking Heads, This Must Be the Place.
I don't know it.
Okay. Let me see. I'm trying to think of one. I'll tell you what. Why don't we go with a song that you pick?
Okay. I just never did much Talking Heads.
Well, I'd recently
Beatles.
seen
How
Stop
about
Making
Beatles?
Sense.
There you
go.
Do we have Beatles?
Yes. Beatles. How about, what's the one, I'd like to be under the sea?
Okay,
in an octopus's garden? Yeah.
Right, I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade, I think.
Right.
Is that it? Okay, so let me just hear it. On key, off key, doesn't matter. It's just our warm-up.
Okay. I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade.
Great. Now copy me. We're going to get exactly the notes. I'd like to be bum, 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 bum.
I'd like to be bum, 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 bum.
Under the sea, bum, 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 bum.
Under the sea, bum, 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 bum.
Little note, bum, 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 bum.
Little note, bum, 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 bum.
I'd like to be under the sea.
I'd like to be under the sea.
And so let's take that piece. We've got that piece, and I know that we're on a little clock here. So we're going to go, I want to sing.
I want to sing.
I want to speak.
I want to speak.
With a voice that is my own.
With a voice that is my own.
Not what they tell me.
Not what they tell me.
Right. This is my voice.
This is my voice.
They can deal with it.
They can deal with it.
I'm going to be myself.
I'm going to be myself.
In the shade.
In the shade.
And in the sun.
And in the sun.
Well, I'm going to be.
I'm going to be.
Under the sea.
Under the sea.
In an octopus's garden in the shade.
In an octopus's garden in the shade.
You'll see me there.
You'll see me there.
You'll hear me here.
You'll hear me here.
With a voice that's really mine.
With a voice that's really mine.
Mm-hmm. And tough on the critics.
And tough on the critics.
This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is how I reach people.
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 Right on that low note.
Right on that low note.
So listen to this voice.
So listen to this voice.
This voice will speak.
This voice will speak.
Listen to the radio.
Listen to the radio.
I'm here to impart some wisdom.
I'm here to impart some wisdom.
I've dedicated my time to bringing guests on the air so that you could have a better life.
I dedicated myself to bring guests on the air so that you can have a better life.
So that you can have a better life.
So that you can have a better life.
That's what moves me.
That's what moves me.
Would you like to be?
Would you like to be
under the sea?
Under the sea.
In an octopus's garden.
In an octopus's garden in the shade.
Yes, you're hitting notes. Look, I just slipped off my head. I was clapping so hard. Wow, you're up to like 80% of the right notes now. And they feel like you spoke your truth. I put words, I write songs, and sometimes they're right, sometimes we change them, but we give utterance we give voice to the inner voice. We try to find that out. And so I pick up the clues. Oh, I see. You know, they told you this and that in the radio school, and you really just want to be yourself. From the outside in, we want some high notes, some low notes. You speak your truth. We try to get to your core purpose or intention and your message. What's the message underneath it? Well, your message is we can all have a better life at 50 over that, right?
Absolutely. As I've always said, it's funny how we'll spend the first half of our life, you know, pretty much doing what people tell us is the right thing to do. And then finally you start feeling this agitation inside of yourself saying, you know, I've done all of these things, but my life just doesn't feel the way I think it should.
That's right. Well, I would love it if your listeners would somehow write in their response. Now, and whether there's 40% wrong notes or we would never buy your record, we're looking for the listeners to start to train their ear on what improved. Where was there something? Did Daniel take a risk? Did he try something? Did he go for something new at this point? So you are. I would love to see if people heard something, a deeper sense of authenticity in your voice when you said that line about "I'm here to boost people," because it's true. And you know, we got to stop telling ourselves what we should do.
Right.
And we're, you know, and we have just, you're right, we spent that first half of that life really trying to do what others have told us a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting to bring guests like you on the program because, you know, anybody can bring a personal empowerment coach or a psychologist. But I remember a few years back as I interviewed with actress Dee Wallace. People might remember her from E.T., the Extraterrestrial, the Mother. And she wrote a book called Bright Light, which was basically a memoir of her life and acting and so forth. And the genius, it just hit me as I was reading this. I thought, if people really want to heal, what they should be doing is taking acting classes and not sitting in front of a therapist. Because it really puts you out there, you know, just like this does. So again, it isn't about trying to get to a level of singing where maybe Kanye will come up and try to snatch that Grammy Award out of your hand because he doesn't believe you deserve it. It's for you to authentically stand there and realize everything you've brought into your life, you deserve to have and experience. And that's what this is all about here today.
Wow, that was so well said. Did you feel it?
Well, that's because it came from the octopus's garden.
Oh, yeah, well, it's in the shade. Hey, listen, 2 seconds. I want to see if I could take us out, but my microphone's in a different place in the room. I'm going to try and switch, okay?
All right.
I'll come right back if it doesn't work.
So
okay?
We'll go ahead and we'll take a second here. And again, you can find out more about Claude Stein by visiting his website at naturalsinger.com. That is naturalsinger.com. So that you can explore that authentic voice that will allow you to be able to experience those wonderful things that you want to experience in your life.
Are you able to hear me clearly?
I can hear you pretty clear.
I'd like to So now your listeners out there, can the listeners say, I'm gonna sing, repeat it back. And then again, I'm gonna sing. I'm gonna sing my song. Just how I want to now. Off the Christmas garden in the shade. In the shade. Thanks for having me, Daniel. I hope you come to my workshop, everybody who's listening, and if not, I hope you found the 45 minutes here very, very enjoyable to listen to.
We have very much, Claude Stein. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program today. And for our listeners, give out that website one more time.
www.naturalsinger.com. naturalsinger.com. Naturalsinger as one word.com.
Very good. Claude, thank you so much for joining us here on the program today.
And thank you for playing along and giving me space to sing out, and for you going forward. I hope you got a little buzz.
Oh, absolutely. Every time.
All right, that's great. Bye-bye now.
We want to thank you, the listeners out there, for tuning in. Again, tap into that authentic voice of yours and realize the benefits that it's going to cast out for the rest of your life. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Find out more by visiting us at Beyond50Radio.com. That is the number 50. Sign up for our free weekly e-news updates. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Beyond 50 Radio program. And remember, live your day past halfway.